Well, pleasant good morning, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of the PR Man and the Coach talking ball on the BallFather Podcast, presented by Sports Kita. I'm your host, Reggie Roberts, longtime NFL communications executive, former NFL reporter, writer, and I'm joined by probably the guru of college basketball, which is sort of in the Final Four. It's all set. I'm joined by my good buddy from Tampa, TJ Reeves. What's up, man? How we doing?
Listen, I take all compliments every which way, including the sort of guru. I'm the sort of guru. Does that imply that I had a Final Four that had San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, Miami, and UConn in it? Nobody had that. Nobody. 20, 50 million people filled out a bracket, and nobody has this Final Four. Reggie, it's crazy. It's nuts. It's why we love it.
You know what? I was telling someone the other day, basketball is what I call the great equalizer. Okay, so if Jackson State is playing basketball and Jackson State's playing football, if Jackson State had to play Alabama in the national championship, it'd be a bloodbath. Okay, it would be a bloodbath based on the budget, based on the athletes, how big the schools are. Basketball, not so much.
Yes.
And Florida Atlantic is a great example of an itty bitty school with nowhere near the budget that some of the other schools have, and they're in the Final Four.
Because if you know what you're doing and you can get a couple of players, you got a coach that knows what they're doing, it's a level enough playing field in your conference for you to get an entry, to get into the big tournament. And once you get there, once you have that access, you have the same puncher's chance that everybody else has in a one-game, one-and-done scenario. And this is the latest example. I mean, we know about 5 years ago, Loyola Chicago, small Catholic school, obviously in Chicago, Illinois, with Sister Jean and all of that. They got nowhere near the budget of the Big Ten, like Michigan or Ohio State or Indiana. But they're right there in the Final Four, just like the rest of them. Same thing, Virginia Commonwealth. Same thing, Butler. Same thing, Wichita State. And yesterday, interesting as it relates to Miami, is the 17th anniversary of George Mason, tiny public school in Northern Virginia that got all the way to the Final Four, upset UConn in the regional final 2006 to go to the Final Four. And who was their coach, Double R? Jim Larrañaga. And 17 years later, Jim Larrañaga takes the Miami Hurricanes for the first time ever to the Final Four. But I mean, it's a great point that you don't have to be one of the big boys to get access to this tournament and then do damage. And that's the charm of March. That's what makes March great. It includes everybody having the same playing field, having the same opportunity to win a game and move on. And Florida Atlantic has now won 4 of them and moved on to Houston, Texas.
Unbelievable. I mean, let's just set the bracket of going on this weekend for the Final Four. San Diego State plays FAU at 6:09 on April 1st at NGR Stadium, where you're going on Thursday, obviously. And then the second game is the U. Miami is playing UConn at 8:49. I mean, let's talk about the matchups a little bit. I mean, what do you, I'm a little excited for Florida Atlantic because my youngest son started school there. He's going there online now. He's doing all of his studies online. But it's a beautiful. If you've not been down there, it's a beautiful campus. It's a tawny ball.
Oh, I've been there, and people need to understand that if you're in the football stadium, they have this painted down the field because the press box sits high enough where you can see the beach and the Atlantic Ocean. And on the sideline of the field, it says the beach is 2 miles this way with an up arrow. It is as picturesque as it gets for the campus setting that's there. And I've joked with you between Florida Atlantic, which is in Boca Raton, about 30, 40 miles north of Miami proper, and Miami making it. They're going to clean out all the retirement communities, all the retirement homes. So everybody's going to make their way to Texas, brother, and the Lone Star State to have Miami and FAU out of Boca both there. This is crazy. It's crazy.
It's incredible. I mean, it's a beautiful campus. I mean, you're right. We dropped Chase off at his dorm the first day. Then we started driving around and we ran into the beach. Like it's it's literally 1.8 miles, 2 miles. It's like 1.8 miles, and it's incredible. And then anybody graduates from there with all the distractions being there, right in Boca. And then if you want to go to Miami, you can do that. You can go to the beach, whatever. Anyway, I mean, you're right. They're an impressive story because you're right. The guy knows what he's doing. The coach there knows what he's doing. Gets a couple of players. And you know what? They can do it all. They can shoot it. They can defend. They can do it all.
Well, and they've got a couple of NBA caliber players. One of them is the top guard, John L. Davis. He's the player of the year in Conference USA. Florida Atlantic won the regular season, won the conference tournament. They were ranked in the top 25. I mean, this has been an incredible overall year. They beat Florida in the second game of the season. They beat the Gators in Gainesville, and that woke some people up that he's got a team, and it has continued. And now you watch them with the way they played at Madison Square Garden against Tennessee and Kansas State. You're right. They have size. They've got a Russian. What else? I mean, what else can we add to the craziness stew pot? You've got a 7-foot Russian who's athletic. He can rebound. He can defend. They've got some guards. They've got big guards. They've got guys that are 6'4", 6'5", and that's going to be important as we segue it to San Diego State, because I saw those guys firsthand in Orlando in the opening round when they beat Charleston, and then they later beat the upset-minded Furman Paladins. And in both of those games, San Diego State has size, 6'7", 6'8", guys, probably 4 or 5 of them with long arms that can defend, that are physical, that can rebound. There's a reason why San Diego State repeatedly allows less than 70 points, because they guard the crap out of you. We got profound stuff on the podcast with Reggie right now. They guard the crap out of you. This isn't complicated. They play defense. So that's going to be a real challenge for Florida Atlantic, because San Diego State has guarded people all year long with regularity. They shut down Alabama. They shut down one of the best players in college basketball in Brandon Miller, and held Alabama down just to get to the regional final. So they're a really good defensive team, obviously, Reggie.
Well, okay, well, let's switch to the second game. I mean, you got the U who, I was actually out doing some other stuff yesterday. They were down by 15 points, with about 13, 14 minutes up. I'm thinking, okay, this game's over. And then I hit it again. It was tied. I'm like, oh my gosh, what the heck happened?
We got the South Florida Daily Double in progress. FAU's already there, and now Miami's working the mojo to maybe beat it. Let me tell you, as crazy as all of this gets, the different layers of craziness. If I had said to you, Miami is down by 15 points in the second half, how did they win the game? In the modern college basketball, you would have probably said to me, they must have made some threes. They must have made numerous threes. Right? Yeah. That's the logical way you make up 15 points in modern college basketball. Right. Number of three-pointers Miami made in the second half Sunday, zero. They did not make one, Reggie. But what they did do is they hit the mid-range shot, a key mid-range shot or two here and there, got a couple of hoops going to the basket, got a couple of layups, and then they made free throws. They made almost all of them, 28 of 32 from the foul line. That's another huge way they caught up. But in this crazy, nutbag, crazy, trail mix, crazy season, how did they come back without making a three-point shot in the biggest game of their season? I'm dumbfounded even sitting here talking to you that they were able to do that, but give Miami credit. Texas was valiant. Texas was making threes. The game is tied with a minute to go, and Miami just took it from them. Full credit to the Hurricanes.
I'm excited because there's two teams from our state that are going to be represented in the national championship. But I'm a little bumming for Rodney Terry, because I was thinking, the guy gets to the Final Four, they got to give him the job. What are you hearing about that?
All right, so the latest is today, and again, we're talking about the interim coach at Texas. This has been a mess at the beginning of the year because they fired the head coach, Chris Beard, for domestic violence allegations. So Rodney Terry took over like in the third game of the year as the interim coach. Well, all they've done is had a 25-win season, win the Big 12 tournament, which gives them access to the NCAA tournament as a 2 seed, get all the way to the Elite 8 game, which they're winning, and have a chance to be in the Final Four. And it looks as though Texas has offered him the job. Now, do they come to the agreement? I don't know. I keep saying the guy was previously an assistant under Rick Barnes at Texas in the early 2000s. He recruited, along with Rick Barnes, some guy you might have heard of, Kevin Durant. That's not bad, right? All right, so Terry's been on recruiting players like that, like LaMarcus Aldridge, TJ Ford in the early 2000s that are NBA players. They now have a couple of players on this team, Disu, Marcus Carr, that are NBA caliber players. Rodney Terry helped get them at the University of Texas as well over the last couple of years. So I think that's a nice fit. It's a bitter pill for them to not make the Final Four, which is in Houston. They were so looking forward to maybe having a home away from home situation in Houston, but it looks like Rodney Terry may end up being the coach, Reggie.
Okay, that'll be good. You're on with the PR man and the coach talking ball on the BallFather Podcast presented by Sports Keeter. Just to switch back to Florida Atlantic, FAU, Florida Atlantic. Let me ask you this question. With regards to, they've got, obviously they're in the semifinal game. I know San Diego State can defend, but do they have a puncher's chance of winning that ball game?
Yes, they absolutely do. This is not a joke. This is not a coincidence. Tennessee's big and physical too, and they outplayed them in the second half and won it. And Kansas State with Marquise Noel, the outstanding little point guard who was putting on such a show at Madison Square Garden. Again, Noel had a great game in the Saturday night Elite Eight game. He had 30 points. He had 12 assists. He had 4 more steals. He was tremendous. And Florida Atlantic outplayed them in the final 4 or 5 minutes to win the game. Absolutely, Florida Atlantic can be in the Monday night title game. They have pro talent. They have a couple of guys that are going to end up probably being NBA players. Maybe not first-round picks, but John L. Davis can play in the NBA. He is 6'5". He's physical. They can win this game with San Diego State. And then you talk about a real Cinderella situation here. I know their record, they've got 35 wins. 35 wins is not Cinderella at this point, but Florida Atlantic point blank can beat San Diego State. Yes.
And they got the Russian. And don't forget, and they got the
It's like Drago fighting Rocky. Drago! Draw on the mountain. Drago! We'll see what happens.
So give us your prediction. Okay, you're going down there. You're going to be covering for a couple of different outlets. Who do you like? Who do you like?
All right. So ultimately here, I have gotten nothing right on who's in the Final Four. I went over, but I'm not alone. This is amazing. This is another amazing aspect. I'm in like 4 different bracket contests, and in 3 of them, with dozens of people playing, nobody has a Final Four team. So the bracket is settled now before the Final Four because nobody had UConn, Miami, San Diego State, and Florida Atlantic as their teams, because you're thinking like Gonzaga, UCLA, Kansas, Houston, Texas, Duke, Purdue, Alabama, Arizona. None of those teams made it. So the first disclaimer is, when you're asking me what do I think, let's just start from right there. I'm with everybody else, blown up bracket. But UConn has played phenomenal. We haven't talked about them a lot in this conversation. They have shot the ball probably better than anybody. And they were in trouble, by the way, in their opening game, UConn, their opening game with Iona and Rick Pitino. They were in trouble. They scored 50 points in the second half of that game. I mean, they were fantastic with threes, with scoring, and they haven't stopped since then. They beat St. Mary's decisively. They then moved in and beat Arkansas badly, blew them out in the first half, and then they're up 25 on Gonzaga. You just wonder, will that continue in the new setting in the football stadium in Houston or not? But they've beaten 4 opponents in a row, UConn, by 15 or more points. It hasn't been close in any of their games. So will that shooting continue? UConn is obviously the favorite here, but why do I get the feeling that we could see like Miami, Florida Atlantic, or Miami, San Diego State? We could just as easily see that in a title game.
Okay. Well, let's switch topics. Since you've got when do you leave? When are you going down to?
So I will be there starting on Friday, leaving Thursday night for Houston. I'll be there for the duration. And Reggie, I cannot say enough how privileged I am to have been. This will be the 21st time I will have been at this event, either as a fan or covering it. And it never disappoints. It has grown. It has mushroomed in the last 10 plus years. Tens of thousands of people that will be there for the event that don't have tickets to the game. And it would have been even crazier if Texas had been in the game. You would have probably had 50,000 in and around all the events and Saturday that don't have tickets to the game. That's how big of an event it is. 4 fan bases that are there, 2 games Saturday, and then 2 teams advance to play Monday night. You get a whole weekend of this. So I will be there, and I look forward to being there. Tune in, and the College Basketball Coast to Coast channel is where you can find me and hear me. Tune in and in podcast form. College Basketball Coast to Coast. I'll be there Friday, Saturday preview show for over an hour, Sunday night, or a Saturday night recap, a Sunday live show, a Monday preview show. I'm going to be a busy dude. Monday night after the title game, we're all over it on College Basketball Coast to Coast in Houston this weekend.
Let me tell you something. You want to know why you've been there 21 times? Because you're outstanding at what you do. You're passionate.
Thank you. I hustle. I'm crazy. I don't know what it is that I do, but I hustle. We're going to be there. And this thing never disappoints. It is going to be dramatic. It is going to be crazy. And it's the first time for 3 of the teams to ever be there. How cool is that?
Right. First time. And it's also the first time since the seeding began in 1979 that no team ranked better than 4th. That's crazy.
You want some more Twilight Zone stuff? You want to cue the music? Do, 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 do. All right. The last time no number 1 seeds made the Final Four is 2011. Why is that important? 12 years ago, the Final Four was in Houston, Texas. Won by the Yukon Huskies. Just here for you. I'm just here for you. That was 12 years ago.
Hey, listen, for all the facts, I know who to call. When I need someone to talk about that, I know who to call. Let's switch topics here because there's this other sport that's going to kick off later this week. Baseball season starts, and obviously I'm completely pumped up because there's something that took place yesterday in New York with regards to their young shortstops made the big club. That guy had a hell of a spring. I mean, are you kidding me?
Exactly.
He's gonna.
And by the way, it's no insignificant thing. It's not an insignificant thing when you say starting opening day at shortstop for the New York Yankees, because as soon as you say that, everybody immediately thinks Derek Jeter, number 2, the icon. So this is not an insignificant thing for the Yankees. And yes, the baseball season, on top of everything else, the baseball season about to get cranked up.
So tell me what's going on with your Rays. I mean, they've been kind of quiet all spring. What they got going?
All right, so this is interesting. They've lost a couple of guys. One of the stalwarts and most popular players, Kevin Kiermaier, has left as a free agent, and he's not just left; he's left to a division rival, Toronto. The Rays and Kiermaier publicly said this, and it was understood. He's worth more on the open market than what they can pay him under their budget, under their limited budget. Here we go again with budgets and small markets, and not everybody has the same amount to spend. So the Rays have basically done this with starting pitching and low-budget payroll players for the better part, really, of now about a last 10, 12-year run. And they are outstanding with the starting pitching. They don't have household names to hit. Randy Arozarena is probably the most entertaining player, a fantastic outfielder. He's got speed. Defensively, he's a lot of fun to watch. That's one of those guys. But that and their starting pitching are kind of going to carry this team right now. Kevin Cash, a very underrated manager. I mean, he has made it work with a revolving door of young players, inexpensive players. They will contend again in the big bad American League East with your Yankees and the Godzilla Red Sox that spend 5 times the money. The Rays will be competitive again. They always seem to be right there in the thick of things in the baseball playoffs. And this is interesting. This is the 26th season of the Rays, but it's the 25th anniversary of their opening game. That is coming this Thursday as we tape the podcast. Thursday, March 30th is the 25th anniversary of their first game. Here we go, Reggie. This is by design by Major League Baseball. 25 years ago, the Detroit Tigers were the first opponent for the Tampa Bay then Devil Rays. And you were in the market. You were in the market when that was all going on. And I mean, it was electric in St. Petersburg for that first game. Standing room only fans, standing room only in the press box to see the first ever Major League Baseball game, regular season in Tampa Bay against the Detroit Tigers. Well, now fast forward. My God, are we getting this old? 25 years later, for March 30th of 2023, the Detroit Tigers are the opponent again for the Rays. I don't know that it's going to be completely sold out, but it's going to be largely full. It's going to be fun to watch this. And I've got a quick story. You got time for a quick story? Quick story back to 1998. More craziness. All right, so Tampa had not had a Major League Baseball team despite being ingrained with Major League players and spring training for 50 years before 1998. So a Tampa guy, Luis Gonzalez, and this is a bitter memory for you because Luis Gonzalez went on to win the World Series for the Arizona Diamondbacks against somebody's New York Yankees. In Game 7, Gonzalez got the winning hit off Mariano Rivera. You got pain right now for me bringing that name up. But Luis Gonzalez, a Tampa high school guy, Jefferson High School, Lou Pinella's high school, Fred McGriff's high school, Tino Martinez in and around Tampa Jefferson High. I mean, it's a big-time high school. All right, Luis Gonzalez, opening day, early on in the game against the Rays, first ever game for the Rays. Major League Baseball history, hits the first ever home run in a game against the Rays and in a game in Tropicana Field. And here's the punchline. I was there. We found out about all of this shortly after it all happened. Gonzalez rifles the ball down the right field line into the stands, right behind the foul pole, right in the section where his family is. He's got like 15 family members that almost caught the home run ball that Gonzalez hit. They did not catch it. It was a couple of rows below him. So Luis almost hit the home run to his own family. You talk about all-time stuff. This is all-time stuff 25 years ago in the first ever Rays game. I'm here to deliver for you on the podcast. And now 25 years later, the Rays will play the Tigers again. So open this.
Just call this the Twilight Zone podcast with all this information, all this news. I mean, it's nutty stuff. It's just unbelievably nutty stuff. Speaking of nutty, let's sort of transition over at One Buck Place. I mean, they made some news last week with the new quarterback and, with Baker Mayfield. And it seemed like the national media sort of made a little bit of a big deal. I mean, he said some things about it. It's the only one Tom Brady. I'm glad to be replacing Tom Brady. It almost sounded like he's installed himself as the starter. And there's going to be, but that's not the case. There's going to be an open quarterback competition.
Well, yeah, and Baker Mayfield, obviously a big name, number 1 overall pick. You love these stats because you used to work for the Buccaneers, along with working for the NFL, etc. The Buccaneers have never acquired in their history a former number 1 pick quarterback from another team. So this makes history. Baker Mayfield was the number 1 pick by the Cleveland Browns. The Bucs have never had, through free agency or a trade, a number 1 pick quarterback from another team. So Baker Mayfield comes in. And I think he's been humbled. I think he was humble in that press conference and understands 3 teams gave up on me in 2022. The Browns gave up on me. The Panthers gave up on me, and then he had a cup of coffee and had the great Thursday night game with the Rams, but the Rams elected not to re-sign him. Right. I think the part of the argument from he and his agent, he was going to have a chance to start in Tampa Bay. You weren't necessarily going to have a chance to start with the Rams. But the way that you set this up and propose this, I believe it will be a competition with the third-year player, the former Florida Gator Kyle Trask, former second-round pick. And I'm intrigued to see what Trask can do. Give it a full shot in the preseason. Let both of these guys compete. Let them go out there with the starting unit, and let's see who plays better in a competition. And I think Baker Mayfield welcomes that. I mean, he sincerely said it, I think, the other day. Competition brings out the best in everybody. Let's go. Give me the shot. Let me see if I can win this job and earn this job. And you've got one more variable. You've got a brand new offensive coordinator, a guy named Dave Canales, who's the former quarterback coach with the Seahawks, working with some guy named Russell Wilson. That will get you ready for being an offensive coordinator. And last year he worked with Geno Smith, obviously, who had a great season. So Canales comes all the way to Tampa Bay from Seattle. And now he's got Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask as kind of the quarterback competition as we go to this fall. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating to see how this unfolds.
I think it's going to be interesting because, number one, everybody who I talked about, I spoke to an NFL general manager and NFL head coach over the weekend, and they're saying 2 things. One, Canales knows what he's doing. They said he knows what he's doing. He's a really good system guy. I mean, I think skill set wise, you could probably argue the point, but when you think of Geno Smith and him taking Geno Smith and having Geno Smith basically win comeback player of the year, got a big gigantic contract, 3 years, $105 million, 52 of it guaranteed. I mean, that to me that speaks a lot because I think skill set wise, Baker Mayfield was the number 1 pick in the draft for a reason. I mean, he's got all the talent, he's got the skills. I think it's we gotta get this part of his body going. But I think you're right. I think it's gonna. I think the Bucs could wind up being sneaky good this year with if they can get the quarterback.
And by the way, it's an open division because I know the Saints went and got Derek Carr in free agency. All right, so they've installed him, but the Falcon quarterback situation is still kind of up in the air. They played Desmond Ridder some, who they drafted from Cincinnati. The Carolina situation with a new head coach is now they have a number 1 pick. They traded with Chicago. Are they taking Bryce Young of Alabama and putting him in is what it looks like they're going to do. But this division could likely be claimed on literally an 8-9 record, something like that. The Bucs won it with 8 wins a year ago. So
you're right.
So, I mean, if you're the Buccaneers here with this, you got to feel like we're going to be in this thing from a division race standpoint into December if we're just around 6-7 wins. 6 or 7 wins in December has you in the hunt So that will be the idea. And I'm sure Atlanta's thinking the same. New Orleans is thinking the same. If we can just get to an 8th win, maybe a 9th win, we probably win the NFC South. So it will be interesting. A lot of change in the NFC South for sure. Again, new head coach in Carolina, new quarterback in New Orleans, new offensive coordinator with new quarterbacks in Tampa Bay. Who's the quarterback in Atlanta? It'll be fascinating in the South.
Listen, we're going to let you go, man, because we know you got to probably go pick up some dry cleaning and get everything going for your trip on Thursday. We appreciate you taking a few minutes to spend some time with us on the PR Man and Coach Talking Ball on the BallFather Podcast. Safe travels. Give your lovely wife and your beautiful children my best, and we'll catch up soon, brother. Enjoy.
Anytime you need me, whether it's Final Four, whether it's NFL Draft, whatever it is, I am here for the Double R. The only thing that I am going to say in leaving is if you think you know what's going to happen in this Final Four with San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, Miami, and UConn, you don't know. None of us know. And look out, and I love it, and I'm here for it. I appreciate being with you.
Have a great, be safe, and have a good weekend. We'll call you soon. Thanks, TJ. Have a good day. Thanks, man.